announcer comes across the PA system and says, "Hey, everyone's got to evacuate because of the storms in the area." We just turned around and walked back to the parking garage where we parked at. I heard a small, still voice say, "Open your guitar and start playing." So I said, "All right, God, I know your voice." And so I went to my car, opened the lift gate. I put my guitar case in there, open it up, start playing. And the crowd just gathered around.
Today on Loves Music, we have an uplifting episode with Elliot Poston. Elliot is a country singer from South Carolina with great songs like The Country Way, You Can't Spell Bush Without USC, and Backroads. We talk about his correlation with writing music, leading worship in church, and then his professional wrestling promotion. Can't wait to share with you how all those things are interconnected. Up next, all the way from South Carolina, we have Elliot Poston. Elliot, thank you for joining me here on Loves Music, man. I really appreciate you making time, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.
It's crazy because country music is one of those mediums. I don't spend a lot of time with it personally. So it's one of the few genres I get to listen to as like a passive fan. You know, I never made it myself. I don't really have too many people I know that do it. So I just get to sit back and listen. And when I tell you, dissecting the stories and the intimate details of your songs, like I feel like I know you so well just from like 2 or 3 songs. I mean, you write from such a personal place. I mean, I'm assuming that's the goal, right? When you're doing like that kind of country music. I mean, I feel like it's just a snapshot of your life.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about telling the story. You have all sorts of different types of country music out there, right? So, but for me, it's if I can help people connect with who I am, and that's what I feel like. People today, they crave something personal, and so what you hear is what you get from me. What you see is what you get. What you hear is what you get. And
yeah, man.
You know, whether I'm on a stage or in a food line,
yeah, man.
I am who I am.
I think country may get a bad rap from some people for being tropey, right? Beers, trucks, girls, every song, whatever. And I think the cheat code, if I may, and this is just a theory, is you write songs that transcend the genre. You know what I mean? You can't be tropey if you're just telling an intimate story about yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're the only person that can tell that story. So there's 3 songs. I almost feel like I listened to your catalog in the order I was supposed to listen to it in. So like,
well, there's not many out there right now.
Yeah. So like I listened to Backroads, right? And I'm like, oh, this is wife, kids, the roads that they drive on. I'm assuming that's just a snapshot of your family, right? Backroads?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Backroads is a song about how I grew up, you know, and I grew up in a small town here in South Carolina, and you know, everywhere we had to go, if we were going somewhere, it was on a back road to get there. And that's just, you know, it's just a snapshot of how I was when I was younger. Back then, we actually got to ride and tailgate in the back of a truck bed.
Yeah.
You know, mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's kind of frowned upon, and I think we've also realized how unsafe it can be.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, it's also just one of those things. Sometimes it's good just get in the truck and take a drive.
Yeah, it's healing, man. It's just, you just kind of take in some nature, take in some scenery. So then you have a song, You Can't Spell Bush Without USC. And I'm like, all right, this is like his like pop promotional song. I was like, let me see what he does with this one. Super clever. Did you get like commissioned to write that for Bush or something, or for the college of USC or something?
I'm trying.
It feels like such like a commercial success already.
I've tried pitching it to Bush so many times to see if it's something they want to pick up and roll with. And every time I reach out, it's like, oh, send this to our local distributor, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whatever. You know, I've tried pitching to USC, the University of South Carolina has a deal with Coors, so
that's not cool.
They can't really promote Bush. However, it has gotten some traction with the fans, so that's been fun. And local radio has picked it up and played it during their tailgate pregame show. So
that's good. That's great.
Just keep building on it. So I released it 24, but it's gotten radio airplay on country radio here in Columbia, South Carolina area, and which is where the South Carolina Gamecocks are stationed. And
all right, man. Well, good, man. I hope it sounds like the kind of song that has a lot of momentum too. I mean, you catch the team doing well at the same time the song is bubbling. You know, kind of catch like that lightning in the bottle opportunity. It becomes this huge song. Next thing you know, everybody, you know, south of the Mason-Dixon knows who Elliot is. You know.
Well, it's funny you say that, because like one thing I've done is first game of the season when my song gets played, I, like clockwork, if they win their first game of the season, I'm just saying the Gamecocks are 1-0 since you can't spell Bush without USC has played this year. So
oh, cool. All right,
keep it at that. And then when they lose, I don't say anything.
you're just kind of fade like that meme with Homer Simpson's faded.
Yes, exactly. The Homer meme.
Yeah. I want to talk of the third song that really resonated with me. I watched Sports Talk, and I'm a big fan of Colin Cowherd. He's giving a monologue about the U.S. hockey team just winning the gold medal. And he was talking about sports in general, and he said, hockey is the best of us. You know, football has become so corporatized, about the ownership. It's about the shield. You know, basketball is about individual stars. Hockey is about like a brotherhood. You can't play at half speed. You fight. Not only do you fight for each other. You're grouped together. And he said, hockey is the best of us. And it got me thinking, what does it really mean to be the best of us? And then I heard your song, The Country Way. Have faith, give grace. What's the third one in the song?
Give grace, show mercy, have faith. That's the country way.
Yeah. And it just got me thinking like that all happened within like 2 hours of each other. And it just, and that song just kind of like sat on my heart. It's such a snapshot of just like wholesome American values without being preachy. Just like a handbook of like, okay, what's really important? What's really important here? Take care of your family. Have a tender heart. Take care of your bros. Help people that need help. You know, it's for you to encapsulate such foundational, just great values in one song. Take me through your mindset when you wrote that. So that had to have been like a really special time for you when you listened to that song back for the first time after you wrote it.
Yes, that's the first song I ever wrote and released. You know, I released it February 2nd, 2024. I recorded it in November of 23. And it really, you know, from between November to February, that I made the decision to really pursue country music. But it came after Micah 6:8.
Oh, okay.
Micah 6:8 says, "Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly." So I took that scripture and kind of went on my own kind of idea.
Okay.
But Micah 6:8 that really inspired it. But it's also just like how I grew up, man. It's, you know, we look at the world around us and I'm like, man, I grew up with nothing but African American friends. I got bullied by people that look like me. But and it's one of those things that I look around and see how just society is right now. And I'm just like, man, I remember just hanging out and see someone on the ground, you pick them up. You know, someone's coming behind you, you hold open the door. I mean, what, you know, chivalry ain't dead. You know, that's something that we kind of, at least for me, growing up here in the South, that's something we hang our hat on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, Southern hospitality is real. That's not just a saying. And I understand the South gets a really bad rap. But I'll be 40 this year. And in the 40 years I've lived here in South Carolina, I've never personally ran into any issues. You know, people who don't look like me were the ones taking up for me.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And it's just like, you know, you go to your friend's house and you call their grandma.
Right.
Or whatever nickname they may have.
Right.
You know, because that's just who they are.
Mm.
When I think about the country or the South, the country way, it's just it's an embodiment of family values, Southern values, but the Christian faith.
So what are those core values that you're trying to instill in a couple things? What would you say they are?
I mean, it's God, family, and everything else.
Okay.
I mean, that's it. That's keep God first in everything you do. Your wife should always put your wife or if you're a woman, put your husband first. If you're a husband, put your wife first. After your relationship with God, and then put your kids after her, and then put everything else after that.
Okay.
You don't need to be married to your in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife don't need to be married to her in-laws. Your marriage is the two of you. That's it. God. So for me, it's God, wife, children, everything else. Because the most important thing for me ever, I started singing when I was 15, started playing guitar when I was 17, 18 in college. I decided to pick up a guitar to try and to get women.
Okay.
Right.
It's a great motivation.
I figured if I learn how to play guitar, I sing pretty good, I think. If I can learn how to play guitar, maybe I'll get me a nice looking lady and get married one day, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So fast forward a little bit. I went through college and everything, graduated from college, and while in college, met my wife through a mutual friend and ended up dating her and getting engaged and getting married and having 2 kids years later. I'm pushing 40 now with an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. But in that time, I had a choice. I had a choice to either pursue my wife or pursue music. And I chose to pursue my wife. And the reason I chose to pursue my wife is because, one, I didn't think I'd ever find any woman or anything like her. The most important thing to me was legacy. Having the values and the morals that I have, wanting to be married and have a wife and then have children in that order. Marriage and children. I said, there's no guarantee we have children, but I can at least be married. So the most important thing for me was legacy.
Okay.
And for me, I wouldn't have legacy if I didn't have a wife. I could, but I wouldn't. So I pursued her. And we were recently married. We were eating at a Wild Wings in near where we live. And I was supposed to actually go try out for The Voice. And I looked at her. I said, something just doesn't feel right. The Voice had recently came out, and their first couple season or two was, in comparison to American Idol. I struggled with if I would be me. So, and she said, hey, you said you would never compromise your faith for your music. I said, that's a solid point.
Okay.
So I said, all right, we won't go. And we didn't. And I led worship at one church for eight years or so. And we stepped down and started attending another church, and I became a worship leader, one of the worship leaders at that church, and helped lead for 6-7 years, I think. 6-7 years.
Okay.
About 2 years ago, when I finally decided to start pursuing country music, I stepped away from leading worship. But it was just, for me, a testament of things coming full circle. I feel like because I pursued my wife, God honored that. And said, hey, since you pursued your wife, I'm going to do this for you.
Right. Would you say that your music is an extension of your faith? I mean, when you listen to your music,
oh, for sure,
you're clearly it's clearly just a portrait of your internal beliefs, just put to songs.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that I was content with just leading worship at church, not recording, not going out anywhere to play. I was content with where I was. But we were at dinner one night and sitting there at dinner, hear a guy playing, and I just said, "Hey, babe, I could probably play here and there and make some extra money.
Sure.
I think I'm better than him."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "You are. And if you want to do that, by all means." At this time, our kids were getting older. They're, 9 and 4, 5.
And for anybody listening, that's a fair assessment. Elliot's voice is ridiculously good. So this isn't just like speculation. He's mechanically an incredible singer. I just want to let people know.
I appreciate it, man.
You're not like pouring fire on or pouring gas on. This is like note for note, you sing incredibly well.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she said, "You know what, go for it." And I said, "All right, cool." So I kind of did like my 90-day to 120-day trial in 2023. Had my first show. It went well. Quickly got booked in town again. And our plan was once or twice a month, get a little bit extra spending money. That then became once a week really quickly. And then before I knew it, it was looking at 2 to 4 times a week.
Were you still working full time?
I still work full time.
Oh, okay.
I said, "You know what? I've always wanted to professionally record a song." So I wrote The Country Way.
Sweet.
And then I contacted a producer. He got me in there. We recorded it, and here we are 2 years later. I've got 2 more songs coming out within the next 2 months. Then I'll be repackaging everything I've released into an album.
There you go.
And playing. I've had the opportunity to open for legends like Diamond Rio, Eddie Montgomery, Sammy Kershaw, Tracy Bird. I played Carolina Country Music Festival last year, or was supposed to. It got rained out, so I actually performed for about 500 to 600 people in a parking garage.
That's actually kind of cool. There's like weird situations. There's like one-offs that'll never happen again. That's how you have some of like the best gigs.
Me and the guys who were playing with me that day, we're going to our stage, and announcer comes across the PA system and says, "Hey, everyone's got to evacuate because of the storms in the area." So we just turned around and walked back to the parking garage where we parked at. And I heard a small, still voice say, "Open your guitar and start playing." So I said, "All right, God, I know your voice."
Mm-hmm.
So I went to my car, opened the lift gate. I put my guitar case in there, open it up, start playing. And the crowd just gathered around. A 30-minute set that would have been inside the festival turned into a 2-hour set.
Love that.
And everybody was just singing along, and it was great. Local news covered it. I got some fans out of it, and actually just was able to an hour before we started this recording, was able to release to the masses that I will be back at CCMF this year.
Oh man, congratulations, man! I love that you had that experience. That's awesome. So, what would success look like for you in the short term? Let's say the album comes out. What would be ideal? Because obviously, the idea of success at 20 is a little bit different at 40. What would it look like for you at this stage of life?
Well, we homeschool our kids, so that makes it kind of different,
Yeah.
Because we homeschool our kids, if I'm able to make music my full-time career and support our family with it, then that means I have the ability to say, "Wife, kids, let's load up, grab the dog, let's hit the road."
especially now between tutors, technology. I mean, you could have a whole curriculum on the road.
Well, that's something I love about being able to homeschool our kids is that we currently we're in hybrid homeschool, so they go to instruction 2 days a week. Then we teach them the other 3 days.
That's how much I know. I didn't even know that was an option. That's how out of touch.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So we do that, and you asked if I have a full-time job. I do, and the reason I have a full-time job on top of playing music full-time, is so that my wife doesn't have to work.
Sweet.
So she's a nurse. She still works PRN, so she schedules as needed. But for the most part, she's able to stay home and with our kids.
Sweet. And I'm assuming, I mean, it goes without saying, I'm sure she's like a big supporter of the music. Do the kids have any musical inclinations of their own? Like, do you have a couple little musicians? Or are they like athletes, academics? What are kids like?
I think all three actually. I got two kids, but I think they're all three. My kids, we've got some smart kids.
Mm-hmm.
My son is very, very, very outgoing. He's a performer. Both of them have been in musicals and everything already. They both love to sing. My son is teaching himself drums. He got a guitar for Christmas, so he's wanting to learn that. And my daughter, she's really into dance and gymnastics, but she also loves to sing. So my daughter, she'll just blast my music through the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's right, getting them streams up, girl. Make daddy some money.
There we go. That's great, man. So what kind of, I mean, are you, because you play music full time, can you still like passively listen to artists? Do you still get, excited about new artists coming out? Or are you pretty much like tunnel vision on the projects you're working on?
A high tide causes all ships to rise. And so like if I know a friend of mine is releasing something, I try to give it a listen.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest thing about the music side of things for me is networking. I love meeting new people. I love hearing their stories, hearing their music, because all of us have had the same goal, and it's all to get in that top 40, top 100.
Sure.
You
get the big song, get the big tour. Yeah.
We all want that big song.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm a critic.
Mm-hmm.
I am. There's some artists out there who I hear and I'm just like, listen, who am I to say this? But
I think we all are. I mean, at our age, we've seen, I mean, every year, like we've seen the best of the best, and then we've seen the next incarnation of the best. So sometimes when people break through, it like mystifies us. You're like, this guy,
Well, I mean, I understand marketability and all that, but I'm just talking about the people, the people out there in the same boat as I'm in.
Yeah.
Playing and singing. It's, the cool thing about music is that anybody can find anything and connect with it. One person's style may not be my style, but someone else may enjoy it, and that's fine. I try my best not to be a critic, because when it comes to singing is my first ever instrument. My voice is my instrument. I'm very critical people singing. And it's just because I hear things.
Sure.
And honestly, there's some things it's just a style thing. It's like, hey, you're hitting every note. I'm just not a fan. And that's okay.
With singing being something that you're clearly exceptional at, what's a skill that you think you might want to get better at, or something that you feel like you like to work on?
I play guitar, but I'm not a guitar player.
Gotcha.
People's like, what do you mean? You sound like you play guitar pretty good. I'm like, I appreciate it. But I'm a strummer. If you want me to sit there and play lead, it's not happening. It's not how my brain works.
Yeah.
I'm a vocalist, and that's something that I'm okay with. Always wanting to grow, always trying to figure the next thing out. But I think for so long I was a perfectionist, and that's something that I had to break away from, and learn to pursue excellence over perfection.
Mm.
And when I learned to do that, a lot of stuff opened up for me. And that was years ago.
Where do you think the perfectionist or the perfectionism comes from? Do you think that was ingrained in you from a kid?
Yeah.
Competition with other musicians? Like, what do you?
No, I think that just came from my dad and my mom.
Yeah. Like high standards or.
Yeah. This just different generation. They wanted things done a certain way. They had certain expectations, which I totally understand as a son and as a parent.
Right.
Those expectations you have, but it was always, that's not right, or is it right? Or for me, it's, hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Right.
Which is a horrible analogy, by the way. But,
who came up with that one?
I don't know. I mean,
of all the sayings that stuck, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That didn't age very well.
It's and that's something that my wife and I both try to really ingrain in our children is, hey, we're not asking you to be perfect, but we want your best. Where growing up, I was so afraid to mess up.
Yeah.
That I really pursued everything to be perfect. Mm-hmm. In order to get that praise and stuff from peers and family. Where it took me stepping down from leading worship at my last church, coming to the church I'm at, and coming under good leadership to really grasp that. Mm. Because you beat yourself up for not being perfect,
right?
Spiritually, and before you know it, it's getting into everything that you're trying to do as a worship leader. And if we just change our mindset and look at how God wants our best, because God gave us the perfect sacrifice through his son, mm-hmm. Jesus. And so it's like, oh, well, I can't be perfect. Yeah, no kidding. We've been telling you that. Be excellent. Be great. Give your best.
Well, that's something we were talking about in terms of things that are missed on the next generation. One thing I will say is that the threshold for discomfort is way lower in the younger people. Like the standards that I think we just naturally held ourselves to when we were growing up in like the 90s or late 80s even, Like I remember just genuinely wanting to do a good job. Like my neighbor's going to give me $8 to rake the leaves. And I remember even as a young kid knowing like, yo, I'm going to rake all the leaves, And then I remember, shoveling snow, and I'm like, the driveway is going to be spotless. Like I just had this thing where like I just really wanted to do a good job. And I think it's not lost, but I think that is a little bit more rare nowadays.
Well, I think that's because some of us appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like speaking to you, I can tell you have an appreciation for probably how you were raised, right? I have an appreciation for how I was raised. You have to chew up the meat and spit out the bones, right?
Right.
And I think that's something that we've lost. People our age raising kids now. It's like so many of them have a disdain for how they raised that they just disregard all of it rather than taking the good out of it and applying the good.
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially like younger adults. They're like, oh, I messed up because of my parents. But it's like, okay, but it's like you don't get it both ways. You don't get to be like, I'm traumatized because of my parents, but you also have this great work ethic that came from somewhere too. So you can't just blame the bad on your parents and then the good was just all you on your own merit,
Yeah. What are you doing for the next generation? How are you impressing how are you making an impression on your kids? That's where we run into our issues. Is we're less religious or spiritual, whatever you want to use there. We lack a morality. I mean, you can look at the hot topics of today, and that can tell you where our morality is gone.
Sure.
So I say all that to say, hopefully, the music I put out can help point people back to hope, to the way things should be, and help people just be better, whatever that means.
Right. I like the frame of reframing, how you kind of like view the world.
Yeah.
You know? Like taking a look at like a music that makes you take a look inward and be like, am I doing this right? You know, am I doing this life thing right? You know, maybe you are, you know, but just enough to, the music kind of makes you ask the question.
I appreciate it. And it should, you know, that's my favorite type of music is listening to something. It's one of those things I tell people I can't always write a ballad.
Right.
Some people said, well, why not? I'm like, well, you know, then suddenly it's like, okay, another slow song.
A whole album of love songs.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, 10
out of 10 love songs. Yeah.
You know, and it's, I love a storytelling slow song. That's where my heart's at. I wear my heart on my sleeve and everything. And,
you make a lot of money with storytelling slow songs, you know?
Well, but you know, I played a song for someone the other day that I'd written, just to let them hear a snippet of it. And they were like, I don't know. I said, well, they said, that's not going to be, I don't think that'd be a hit. I said, yeah, but I don't think all songs I write should be a hit. Sometimes you got to have that filler or that toe tapper to where people just enjoy just the beat.
Yeah. Well, I think purposely trying to write a hit isn't how you write a hit. I think our job as artists are to write and make experimental music. And if that experimental music ends up being accessible, that's where the hit comes from. The hit doesn't come from, I don't think, a combination of melody. It comes from you write a song about your life, and then somebody in Georgia, California, Michigan, Philly likes it, you know, and they relate to it. That's where the hit comes from.
If you'd asked me 2 years ago, hey, you ever think if you were to write music, what do you think it would be like? I'd be like, I don't know. But what I can tell you now is, according to my Spotify and everything and YouTube and stuff, I got people who listen to me regularly in the UK and Australia.
How do you not relate to I heard the song If Only, and I was like, and you start talking, I was like, I almost had to turn the song off and go call my brother, you know. He's still here. I mean, If Only was about a brother that's gone, you know, but I'm like, it resonated with me. And I'm like, and you're a guy from South Carolina, you know?
It's what happened.
Yeah. Did you lose your brother? I'm sorry. Did you lose your brother?
No. Well, it wasn't my brother, but he was one of my best friends.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Condolences.
And it was 2. So verse 1, hey brother, how you been? That was my buddy Steven, who was in Indiana. He'd moved down here to South Carolina for a little while, and we met through church, and he moved back up to Indiana with his kids. Went through a divorce, unfortunately, that took him back to Indiana. And man, he lost the battle with mental health.
Shucks. And
locked himself in his bathroom and took his life right around Thanksgiving of 23.
Survived by his children. It's awful. It's bad for everyone. Sorry to hear that.
And then my other good friend, Pastor Travis Lucas, went into the hospital on Christmas morning and never came out. He was 36 or 37 years old.
Whole life ahead of him.
He was actually training for a Spartan to get his Spartan Trident. He went into the hospital with pneumonia, and they said that pneumonia had already started attacking his heart, if I recall correctly. And they put him on ECMO, and unfortunately, he never pulled through.
Sorry, man.
So Stephen, myself, and Pastor Travis all share the same birthday month, all September. And in September of 24, on Stephen's birthday, I got a notification on my phone. It was his birthday and stuff. And I started thinking about everything. And I texted my wife, Lindsay, and said, hey, I'm struggling today.
Yeah.
Just so you know. It's Stephen's birthday today. Pastor Travis's birthday is the day before mine. And if I'm being honest, I haven't grieved like I should. And it's been bottled up for so long. And today is coming out. All she said was, we got you, babe. We love you.
Right.
And I ended up writing that song.
If you don't mind me asking, what are some of the ways that you pull yourself out of a dark place, not just then, but even day to day? We all have our dark days. What are some of the truths that you tell yourself to kind of get over that? I mean, we're artists, we're sensitive, we're prone to kind of having that inner turmoil sometimes. We're human. What are some of the things you do, to kind of refocus and recenter yourself?
Sometimes it's just talking, especially and I say this especially to the men, because men, we wear a lot that we don't talk about, because if we talk about it, we're weak. If we try to be vulnerable, there's too many instances in our vulnerability where it gets turned around and used on us as ammunition.
Yep. Right. We're scared. I'm not going to give you the keys to hurt me, so I'll just keep it in.
Right.
Right.
And it's a struggle, but I think it's important that we find, even if it's just that one person. I'm grateful to have several friends in my life, outside of my wife, that I can talk to. There's some things that my wife knows, hey, I'm just not going to share that with you. And it's because she can't relate. There's just certain things as a woman that she deals with, that it's like, hey, if you want to share it with me, great. But know that I don't expect you to share that with me.
Yeah.
Because I can't relate. I can't sympathize. I can't empathize. But I think it's finding people you can equally pour into and be poured into from. Sometimes walking outside and just sitting in the sun for a minute.
Sure.
Get out of your dark room. Get out of your office. Get out of whatever. Get some sun. Write. Play a song. Put the device down.
Yeah, what they don't tell you is that there is, and I think you might be able to relate to this, there's a loneliness that correlates with high function that they never really tell you, right? So the more high functional you are, the less people will relate to you. We all have a job, but then if you have a job and then a second job, it's, people can't relate. Now you have a job, a second job, and you write songs. Okay, you're even less relatable. You have a job, a second job, and you own a business, and you run this other thing. Now nobody can relate to you. So who do you really turn to that's going to care? I think people want to care, but they can't genuinely. You're breathing rarefied air now.
You have to learn to shut a box. What I mean by that is, this is a little bit of Mark Gungor.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with Mark Gungor, he, if I remember correctly, he's a pastor, but he does something called Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage, that really, really talks about different personalities and stuff, specifically between men and women. And he equates a man's mind being where it's compartmentalized. A lot of different boxes in a man's mind. He's got a box for this, a box for that, this, that, and the other. A woman's mind is like a ball of yarn. Everything's kind of connected and weaved in and weaved out.
Okay.
So as a man, I have to learn, okay, I need to shut that box for a minute. So disconnect, shut the box, and at the same time, learn to be present. It's easy for me to pick up my phone and have to try and, oh man, I need to make this post, or I need to make this graphic, or I need to do this, do that. Yeah, I always can do that. There's always something to be done. But one thing that for me really rejuvenates me is learning to be present, putting the phone down and just being present.
No one lies on their deathbed wishing they had more likes. You know, you're gonna want that 20 minutes back with your kid when they try to tell you a story and you weren't there mentally.
Yep.
You're gonna want that 20 minutes back with your wife when all she wanted to do was like crack a joke, and you're like, I'm doing this other. You're gonna want that time back.
So that's some of the stuff for me, but it's not the same for everybody. You got to find. You have to take time to look at yourself in the mirror, look inwardly, and say, all right, for me to recharge, this is what I need.
Right.
And do it.
Like find the thing, the thing that actually genuinely recharges you. Not that you think recharges you.
Something else that recharges me, going and watching a movie at the movie theater. Even though I can't sit through it the whole time because I have to pee.
Even though
I still enjoy it.
Big 40-year-old bladders, yeah. You still watch a movie. I gotta tell you, it's so good to see you laugh too, man. I feel like it's been such a heavy conversation. Tell me a little bit about the connection with pro wrestling and your music, like your wrestling promotion. I'm trying to draw the connection just by looking at your socials, and I'm like, I don't know how these two worlds go together.
Man, pro wrestling for the past 8-9 years, I think, I've been a professional wrestling ring announcer, and I'm now going into my third year of being a co-owner of this company that I've announced for the past 7-8 years, maybe longer. What pro wrestling taught me was, as crazy as this sounds, to be myself. When learning to, not learning, but when announcing, I always ask questions was, hey, what do you want? Is there something you want us to wear? How do you want me to say this? The booker always said, hey, be yourself. Say it how you want to say it. So I had to learn crowd work. I had to learn how to communicate, which also transcended into leading worship.
You would never make that connection. Pro wrestling and worship leading.
I learned through leading worship and through pro wrestling, I learned how to speak.
Okay, that makes sense.
I learned how to speak to an audience.
Yeah.
How to tell a story. Because whether, as taboo as it sounds, guys, when you're leading worship, guess what you have to do? You got to tell a story.
Right.
We've got to be able to take people on a journey.
You're curating an experience.
It sounds awful to say because you're talking about Jesus. Well, just let the Holy Spirit work. I completely 1,000% agree with that. But if you've been entrusted to do something, then do it. Leading worship's a calling. So how do you benefit, or how do you curate an environment that is inviting for people to accept who God is and to really experience Him? And part of that is whenever you have to give an exaltation,
right? And
you have to lead people into a moment that's very tender, that's very vulnerable. How do you do that? Well, with leading worship, you had to learn that. With wrestling, you had to take the ups and the downs. Like when something happens and it's an injury, whether it's real or fake. All right, how do you navigate that now and get the show back on track? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
How do you build excitement in a match? How do you close the match out with the final remarks? How do you end a show? Do you just let the bell ring and then tell people to leave? No, you don't do that because then people don't have direction. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next month right here, same time, same place.
Book a meeting from a meeting. Yeah.
And there's just so much I learned on that respect. And like I said, learning just kind of not trying to be an imitation, but just being me. And that's hard.
Absolutely, man. In keeping with our theme, What's one thing or one piece of wisdom you would impart to a musician, young guy coming up behind you? You have 10 minutes to talk to him over a cup of coffee. What's one gem you would send with them based on your journey that you've experienced?
I would tell them what I've been told. No one can be you better than you. Don't try and be someone else.
It's gold.
And then the question is, what do you mean? What does that look like? I can't answer that for you, but you'll know it when you get it.
Elliot, man, this is an awesome conversation, man. If somebody hears this, they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that? Like what platform?
Oh man, you can find me on Facebook. It's Elliot Poston with a blue check mark, as well as Elliot Poston Music on Facebook. I'm trying to build up my music page, and trying to transition everything over to the music page regarding music, so I can then just keep my normal page as my normal page. Mm-hmm. Instagram at the Elliot ELLIOT Poston POSTON. TikTok Elliot Poston with the check mark. If it ain't got a blue check mark, guys,
it's not.
It ain't got a blue check mark, it ain't me.
Man, I can't thank you enough for making some time for me, man. I'm so impressed with your music. I'm a genuine fan, and I hope that everything you want happens for you, man, and more. So thank you, and God bless.
Thanks, man. Love you, dude.
You too, brother. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Loves Music. Make sure you check out Elliot Poston. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
One more thing.
Sure.
Guys, make sure you follow Julian Jones. I appreciate the time. Love music. Mm-hmm. Love you guys. Julian, I know I said it already, but has anyone told you they love you today?
Only you, my friend.
I love you, brother. I appreciate you more than you know.
You too, brother. I appreciate you.